I love balls.
For Lord Cars.
Hear ye, hear ye. Man to the people.
You know it's Cars Keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our texts like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive.
Analytical preparation, that's what Cars is given. Cars don't discriminate, teaching the men and women. Each and every week, there's nerd to get your focus. Never manipulating stats, Lord Cars and hocus pocus. Cars Keys, they're never lost. Checking source, never gonna find a better scouting report. Cars going live with the smartest man, my bestie. Deciphering holes on the defense like Getsy. New show, uniforms, orange with the doxy. Tape never lies, patrons, this is Cars
You know
Keys.
it's Cars Keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our texts like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. We gotta break down tape like detectives. No hot takes, just real football perspectives. The Bears nerd dropping science on his terms. TTNL giving Bears press like a perm. Other networks is off with the heads. Stats plus film equals football thread. Analysis like data Ted tries to shred. McCaskey's letting me cake, we keep the 100 crew fed. Cars Keys, let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our texts like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. Lord Hines in his card, fill up a goblin. Lord Hines in his card, fill up a goblin.
Yo, it's Cars Keys. We are back. One final look back before we move ahead to Vegas. Chicago Bears get a dub, much needed dub. But you guys aren't here to listen to me talk about this. Let me go grab my guy, see if he's ready to go. There he is.
What's going on, man? It's a lot easier to do this show when you win, and you win in such a convincing manner.
It is, man. You got to experience the wrath of BHL week 1, and
I'm still in therapy. I am still in therapy after that one.
It's amazing how the haters are. And when I say haters, I'm saying the people that hate Caleb Williams. I'm not talking about Bears haters.
Right.
I'm talking specifically about the quarterback, but it's weird. They all must have jobs that, pull them away from their mother's couches, when the Bears win and Caleb, plays very well. But let's just hope there's more of that in the future. I'm Cars. It's easy to get super, super excited with what's going on. I'm still in show me mode. I think that's probably the way that I'm going to be for a little bit, but that's fine. But I'm very convicted on how I feel about this quarterback and where we are going with this quarterback and with the leadership of this quarterback. And, I sent you a text about, tonight's show, and I think you're going to open some eyes definitely tonight on how all of the nonsense, all of the outside noise, really you're going to show where it's unwarranted and that it's really not about football at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, we absolutely should have skepticism. This is building, and after the way that they looked against Detroit, I think that's the thing that gives me the most confidence, really, is, after a blowout like that, sort of show up and really offensively put the hammer down and show a lot of growth. It's not something that we normally see every year. And I mean, look, I get that Dallas's defense is coached by some nobody, Matt Eber something or whatever that guy's name is.
Whatever his name is, yeah.
But how many teams in the past have we gone into a game being like, this should be an easy victory, we should score a lot of points, and we don't. And
so it happens all the time, man. I believe you and I specifically had the conversation of, Bears facing the Packers years ago, and Packers are down 3 of their 4 offensive linemen, and they don't touch Aaron Rodgers, and that's when you have, Julius Peppers at your disposal. That's the way that it's been, and as much as you want to be a Bears fan about, and show your loyalty to this team and get
Yeah.
excited about this team, other people look at the Bears as their get right game. That's kind of what it comes down to. And again, man, all of the goodwill that the Bears have built up by beating a team that they should beat at home in Dallas. To me, the Bears should beat them. They did. You can't go lay down and get beat in Vegas now. You can't. You have to take the momentum. You have to seize it, take the opportunity, and go to Vegas and leave with another win. Add number 2 in the column.
Oh, I think it's, what's going to be interesting. And sorry, I'm fighting with my sciatica today, which is always fun. The trap here is we're not a very good run defense.
Right.
Las Vegas is one of the worst run offenses. So the trap here is to lose a game because we get ball controlled to death and Las Vegas gets right. The opposite side of that though is they've not been a very good defense. They're not really, uh, they're not really talented on that side of the ball. They've got, Crosby is still Crosby, but probably not to the same degree. And so what we, I just every now and then we'll have a flashback to like Matt Nagy and we'd be walking into this game and you'd kind of expect that Max Crosby will have 4 sacks walking out of it, right? And look like that all pro level. So I think there's something there to be said right now about having a little bit more confidence in the staff to not do the highs and the lows. And, I don't like to read too much into it, but man, that locker room celebration and how they grew, like that was a moment for Caleb to be the diva, right?
Yeah,
And
100%.
instead he was a leader.
And
then he took the game ball away, and the coach was the most amped up dude in that room. That was fantastic.
He was, and one of the things that I spoke on last night, and I don't know if Cars, you've known me for many years now at this point, I tend to find things that maybe people aren't really looking for. And I'm, initially when I watched the locker room video, of course, I'm watching Caleb, watching Ben Johnson, and then you start to you watch it a few more times and you're looking in the background and you're watching Ryan Poles, and you could see the pressure be relieved from him for a second. But then I when I'm looking at the screen and I turn my eyes towards the right, when Ben Johnson is at his most aggressive and breaking down the team, the good, better, best, there's a player standing there with his back to everybody, not participating at all. And that's running back DeAndre Swift. And it's those things you can overlook and say that they don't matter. That's it. Those things to me are things that you should watch. And I understand that the running game is not worked out yet. The offensive line is still trying to figure things out. Darnell Wright's got to get away from the, and this is what fans need to realize. Darnell Wright's got the penalties. Darnell Wright is not playing bad football at all on tape beyond the penalties.
The bad penalty, the penalties stand out, but it's what we've done in the past to Leno and others in which we really
100%.
highlight the big misses.
Yep.
And we miss a lot of the consistency. If you go into a game and you have 3 snaps that you want to show me about Darnell Wright that you're upset about, they're averaging 70. So you're talking about 67 snaps. You have nothing to say, but you're going to focus on the 3. It's one of the worst positions for fans to get all worked up over.
Absolutely.
Not like Sam Mustipher when it was 67 of the 70 being bad back pass blocks, right, and stuff like that. But
right. So, well, let's get right into it, man. I know people have been waiting. We weren't here last week. That was more, on me than you, but we're back and we're gonna jump into some numbers here. Like we said, the The new motto, well, that you came up with a long time ago is, where analytics meets, the tape.
Yeah.
And, it's a great way to put it. And like I said, you kind of gave me a heads up of some of the slides tonight before while I was at my son's soccer game and I was taking a peek at them. And I'm like, wow, there's some mic drop moments in here. So I'm excited for you to show everybody.
Yeah, and so I want to lead off kind of what have we heard all year? We've kind of heard that uh, Caleb Williams is going to be the worst quarterback of his class.
Yep.
That it was a massive miss, and I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that it was massive in the way that it's been presented. And so what I'm going to do is kind of show you some numbers here that show what's truly happened. Because I think for a lot of fans, look, Jaden Daniels had some big games last year and those stood out. But you're not watching him every game. You're not watching him as your quarterback. Or we saw what happened with CJ Stroud that first year, and then we kind of wanted to ignore what happens years 2 and 3. So let's just I figured the best way for me to start is Caleb is 20 games in. Let's look at the first 20-ish games of these guys. So it's going to be Drake May, who hasn't had 20 starts yet. It's going to be Jaden Daniels, who hasn't had 20 starts because he sat out last week. But let's just take a quick peek here when you look at the overall numbers here. And so what you kind of see just statistically is he's right in line with all of this. Like, sure, his touchdown numbers are not as high as Bo Nix's, and his yardage is on par. The completion percentage is a little bit lower, but we'll go into this in another picture here in a second. But you look at CJ Stroud, right? Like the touchdown numbers are right in line. The passing numbers clearly weren't, but those were heavily inflated by year 1. Year 2, he's declined. In year 3, it looks like he is going so far. So when you kind of look through all of this and you look, this whole idea that, by far Caleb is the worst quarterback of this draft, it doesn't add up. And I don't know, I'm still a Bill Simmons guy. I love watching him every now and then. And he had his uncle on the other day, and he had the best nickname for Drake May, which is Drake Maybe.
Drake Maybe, yeah.
Because they're basically saying he's good for a turnover a half. Like
yep.
he's and what did you and I say all during that that's what he is. So when you sit down and you kind of look at this initially, we always it's the old office space, right? It's a mat where we jump to conclusions. And so we look at these first seasons, and we sit down and say, like, that story's told, right? This is done. This player is going to be really good. And I think what really starts to layer on top of that is, let's talk about year 1 to year 2 and just overall look at those numbers. And so from left to right, that is intended air yards per pass attempt, meaning how vertical of a passing game are you doing or are you playing? What is your completed air yards, your air yards per completion, and your air yards per pass attempt? And then you look at what's your yards after the catch number. And so what you're seeing here is Caleb is improved so far this year. And you look at May and Nix, they have dropped back, and Jaden has stayed kind of flat. But look at that Stroud line. When you look at those numbers and how they've been declining year over year. I always like to emphasize Slowick was considered a head coaching candidate after that first season. He got fired midway through that second.
Yep.
Now, they've done him no favors. They've made that offensive line, which was shoddy at best, but they've made it even worse this offseason. But when you look at these numbers and you see, look, intended air yards is higher than everybody else. His air yards per completion, higher than everybody else. His air yards per attempt, higher than everybody else. And if you look at his yards after the catch, after the completion is higher than everybody else so far in this season. And so what you're really seeing is, and the reason, by the way, I threw Drew Brees here on this earlier one is we're seeing a little bit of that same growth that was required out of Drew because Caleb is not of that ideal height, right? So
Right.
we're in a timing offense. He's got to build that trust that players are going to be where they are. There's a reason that we've seen those problems with DJ Moore because DJ does tend to freelance a little bit. So he's got to learn throwing lanes. He's got to learn, basically throwing with anticipation. It took Drew Brees a little bit of time to figure that out. But once he figured that out, he was phenomenal and he made that leap. So when you look at this and you go, look at those numbers and you can see that improvement and you can see that we're pushing a vertical passing game. Everybody sat down and told us that it was going to be a short passing game. There's going to be short elements to it.
Yep.
But it's night and day. And so, when I say this and I go back and you're like, well, what does this all mean? You know how I love to throw out the first week because I feel like that's all garbage. But this is your passing charts from week 2 and 3 for these guys. And what do you notice about where those green dots are? Where do you see, where this is happening? Look at Drake May, his second game up over here. The vast majority of those passes are about 8 yards or less, getting that ball out. Sean Payton's offense is very good for that. That's what Bo Nix has been very good at. But look at, there's a reason that your completion percentage is going to be higher when you're throwing those shorter passes, right? There's stat padding stats. Look at the amount of passes for Bo Nix in week 2 behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, that is startling. And Cars, while you were talking and where this all marries in together, even with like Bo Nix. So Bo Nix is going to be 26 in February of this year. But, just going through. So Caleb Williams in college had 1,099 pass attempts. Bo Nix, college pass attempts, 1,936. He's almost at 1,000 more pass attempts.
Yeah.
Drake May is at 952. So he's essentially right on par with Caleb for the pass attempts. Jaden Daniels, he's at 1,500. And he's an older prospect.
Yeah, because he did 4 years at Arizona or 3 years at Arizona State.
Arizona State and then transferred to LSU. You're right. So, pass attempts, that makes a big difference in a quarterback's development, at any level, clearly. So that's part of it is all in there. And can you put your first slide back up?
Absolutely.
So, you're looking through the 20 games, so 655 pass attempts for Caleb. Drake May is down to 444, but that's 16. So Bo Nix up at 662 through 20 games, 676. So those are, pretty much identical all the way down through. CJ Stroud obviously has a few more there, and then Trevor Lawrence is a lot higher, but those pass attempts is all part of the growing process. But man, Cars, you and I were talking just a little bit pre-show.
Yeah.
This just shows how the narrative isn't about football with Caleb. They think he's a diva. Unfortunately, some people don't like his skin color. Some people don't like that he loves fashion. Some people are pissed off that he's painting his fingernails. And that's what it comes down to. More than football.
And agreed. And I think, look at the way that he's carried himself in press conferences this year versus last.
Yep.
There's a lot more introspection. There's a lot more, you can tell this year he's much more comfortable overall in that situation. And what did Jaden have last year? He had that, he has that with Cliff. What did Bo Nix? He's got the greatest bodyguard in Sean Payton that he could have. Those guys built confidence. Everything we've understood is Shane Waldron and co. destroyed confidence at a record pace.
Yep.
And so, yeah, there's still going to be more hiccups. I don't want to take away from that. But when you look,
100%.
it's going to happen. But like when you say these numbers, we freak out over Caleb Williams interceptions, and we don't want to acknowledge that Bo Nix has thrown twice as many interceptions in 7 more pass attempts. Like that's not a big
Right.
deal for Bo Nix, but every time it happens with Caleb, it's a big idea. Or you look at
Right.
Drake May, he's got 12 interceptions, he's got 11 fumbles in 16 games. And we're not going to freak out about those turnovers, but Caleb throws that very bad interception against Detroit, and it's the end of the world.
Right.
And you just go down. Drew Brees had 22 interceptions through his first 20 games.
Yeah.
Like there's a growth pattern. I think CJ, what happened with CJ was the worst thing for quarterbacks for a while because I think it really set an unrealistic expectation. And what we have seen is his come back down to earth quite a bit to the fact of like Texans fans are starting to be like, we can't pay him $50 million. Like he's not a franchise quarterback. Their fans there are already turning on him.
Right.
And it's all because the bar was set too high. Rick Meyer won an offensive rookie of the year with a terrible season, and he was out of the league, 3 years later?
But we traded for him.
First round pick, too.
I still remember it. Yeah, top 10.
For would have been Walter Jones, the best left tackle we would have ever had.
Well, that's who they took. You know who Chicago was going to take with that pick, though, right?
No, who?
Tony Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah.
That's who they were taking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seattle took Walter. Yeah.
So I think it's just interesting to me that the story isn't written, but we, I think sometimes we just get caught up in the hoopla a lot, and it's really easy to bait a Bears fan. You just say your quarterbacks have always sucked and he hasn't played, as well. I mean, I think it should stand out how accurate he looked on deep balls last week. Something that we've heard complaints
100%. Cars is what we talked about, and I mentioned it on this show. I mentioned on Keeping It 100, on BHL, on After Dark. All of these shows, I kept on bringing it up. It all comes watching him on tape when he misfires. It all starts with his feet.
Yep.
And when he's getting the yips in the pocket, and just you can see the way that he's bouncing, and everybody's like, he needs to process quicker. Well, I understand that, but Caleb needs to slow his body clock down a little bit, and he has started to do that. When he does that, it's going to slow his feet down. His feet are going to stay true. His feet, just like with most quarterbacks, are going to tell the story. When his feet are sound, he's going to be accurate on the deep ball. I mean, you saw him hit Rome in stride. You saw that. I mean, you're not going to see
62-yarder was incredibly accurate.
Oh, to Luther Burden, and then the one in right before half that set up the Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
That was probably overall the best throw of the game for me. I've watched that probably 20 times at this point. Just how he layered it over the defense, over 3 defenders, and Luther Burden was right there. But as he becomes more comfortable, and I think Creighton had it in the chat too, it's football is a game about confidence. You start to get the verbiage correct. You're not wearing the quarterback wristband calling out the plays because you're understanding it. Everything is starting to slow down. You're going to see the accuracy numbers start to go up. And of course, yes, we understand playing Dallas helps. But you know what? He had missed deep balls when he shouldn't have against bad defenses. So it is a step. He was better in week 2 than he was in week 1, and he was better in week 3 than he was in week 2.
And
we'll see what's in store. Yeah, that's all.
And that's all that matters. And I think you're right, because what did you see? You saw. I really would have loved to see what the game plan would have been if Colston had stayed in. I think they realized they were
Ye-
controlling things everywhere, and they didn't
You
really
know
need
damn
him.
well, Cars, because they came out throwing to Colston on the first play, and then what was the eventual completion was what, 32 yards, I think, to Colston Loveland
Yep.
on that. Yeah, so they were going to get him cranked up
And you
100%.
and now you're getting Luther cranked up. And
Yep.
you talk about that throw to Luther before the touchdown. How about the fact that he just took it and immediately went up still, just dropped the shoulder and
Yeah.
got those extra yards?
And you want to know the best part about the whole thing with Luther Burden, Cars? 3 receptions, 101 yards. He did that in 17 snaps.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he's played 50 or 47 all season long.
Yep.
And the 7-yard run that he had, like the way that he changed the game. What you're seeing is that Ben is getting more comfortable with the players.
Yep.
And you're starting to see really who Caleb has the most amount of confidence in. And look, I think it can't be understated that we have the guy tied for touchdowns in receiving in Rome.
He should be leading, because Rome's had some bad drops by the way that I'm charting things.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But when you look, but that connection is there. Like
100%.
they understand if DJ, and I think you saw some better things out of DJ this week. Like I think you saw him be a little bit more disciplined. I think it was really good to hear about. We coached him hard this week, and everything played according to plan. But these are the things, like, it's the good time to get an easy schedule, because this is gonna get you the reps with some of these guys that get you comfortable, so that when the schedule turns, you've got those reps. I keep hearing, like, you don't wanna face the Packers defense later in the year when they get more accustomed to Micah Parsons being on there. It's a valid point. But guess what? Later on in the year, you're gonna have Burden and Loveland and Monungai with way more snaps, way more comfort. I don't know that you wanna face that either.
And we'll see how Micah Parsons plays in inclement weather every week. That's a big factor.
It truly is, and in a town that is not really the most. I mean, you think Chicago's tough. Green Bay is not a very forgiving
And I'm not bagging on Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is fantastic for what he's done, but you can't sit here and say with a level head that isn't going to be a concern, that a guy that's played on a fast track, in the NFL in Dallas, for the entirety of his career. Yes, he's played outside some games, but it's going to be a difference when you're traveling to Chicago, when you're playing all your home games in Lambeau. And yes, their field conditions overall in the league are players vote that the field is terrible in Lambeau, even though it looks good on TV. So it's 100% a factor.
You make me want to look something up, and I wonder if I can find this stat real quick.
But Mark, yes, he went to PSU. How many bad weather games has Penn State played in, and how many games did it really fucking matter because Penn State was up by 40? College football is a different beast that way. I understand what you're saying, but he's played on a fast track in Dallas for the entirety of his career. We'll see how it is when he's playing outdoors more in the Midwest with inclement weather, because when your game is built on speed, and that's the difference. Like if you want to talk about Khalil Mack coming from the Raiders to Chicago, Khalil Mack's game was never built on speed.
Yeah,
Khalil Mack's game was built on power. Micah Parsons is built on speed. Does that change with inclement weather? We're gonna find out, and I'm not bagging on him. I would take him in a heartbeat, but it's something that you have to consider.
I mean, the way you look at it, Shane, is he's of his career sack numbers, 35 and a half of them are indoors, and 18 and a half of them are outside.
Yeah, that's a sizable difference.
And so, you kind of just look of like,
and if you could, I mean, I know we wouldn't have time to do that, but then you're looking, so you're playing outdoors in Philly in September versus playing outdoors in Philly in December or January. That's a big difference.
he's, in December and January, he's had a total of 13 and a half sacks. November, he's always been very solid, 21 and a half, but you're
Mhm.
playing some of the, half of those, you're always playing Thanksgiving at home, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're always going to be there. So I think there is some value to that, but I think the point to me is, as fans and sometimes in our media, we don't give our players kind of the benefit that we give opposing teams, right? Like it's part of fandom.
Right.
You're always going to be harder on your team than you are on the other. You remember when we picked up Khalil Mack and how Green Bay Packers fans freaked out at first. We're like, "Oh no, this is going to be the end, of our reign." And then we couldn't beat them again, and so it went right back to normal.
Right.
Um, it's just one of those things where it's like, we'll see what happens. But I'm of the belief right now, if the Bears continue to build on this, like, you've got Vegas and then a bye.
Yep.
So you have all this time to see this offense grow. I really fully expect to see one more kind of step this next week. And then they're going to get to go back to the lab and really work on everything that's good. I don't know that other teams are going to be super excited to face that, even if it is, the Chicago Bears and you're so used to them being something different. I They're building confidence, and that's scary for other people.
It is, when you're a young team that's got explosive talent, especially on offense, it just takes a spark to start a wildfire, and that can happen. That's why it's critical that you cannot go and lay an egg in Vegas. The Chicago Bears should go to Vegas and they should beat the Vegas Raiders. It's that simple. They should.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that, you got the Raiders, Commanders are a winnable game.
Mhm.
You got the Saints, and then you have the Ravens, and you kinda sit down and be like, if you had looked at the Ravens and been like, "The Ravens defense has given up more points than we have
Right.
at this
Yeah.
point," like, no one would believe you. And then you go to the Bengals and then the Giants. So you've got a first half now that looked ominous, that
Right.
it's still difficult, but doesn't look more ominous than it did.
That's why giving the game away against Minnesota hurt
Yeah.
so much, because you had it there for the taking. And I mean, you could be 2-1 right now heading to Vegas, but that's neither here nor there at this point. You gave it away, you learn from it, you build on it, and you move on. But we can get into this, cars. We saw the Kyler Gordon stuff. I'm not expecting to see any of those guys versus Vegas with the bye week coming up. I don't think it's probably good business at all, because especially with a hammy, and he's had a history of hamstrings before with Kyler Gordon. You give him, he's essentially getting 2 more weeks, and then
Oh, it's a get healthy game.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, I think it's their focus is going into the bye 2-2 and coming out healthy and ready to play
Yep.
the Commanders very well. And, the Commanders don't look, and this happens every year. Every year somebody we have this big blow up season. We go 12-4 with Matt Nagy, and then we come back to earth. This is fairly consistent with many teams. You see like a little blip, they
Right.
pop for a season, and they fall right back. And that's why you don't rush some of these building things, because you want to make sure you have the right blocks moving forward. Oftentimes we look at another team and be like, well, it's done. They're going up and up. I mean, hey, the Houston Texans are 0-3 right now. No one would have had that coming
Nope.
into this.
Not at all.
So,
well, what do we got next?
So I think what was interesting is let's just talk briefly about what I thought was interesting in this last kind of week. So we didn't see as many 12 passing attempts. I will say though that Durham Smythe really looked solid in the pass blocking game and the run blocking game. So he did do some good things there. But I thought the most fascinating thing is look at those numbers out of Caleb out of the 11 last week.
Yep.
And that is Luther by far making a big impact in there. Shane, I don't know about you, but I think really undervalued has been Olamide's
Big time
play. Like there's a trust there. He gets open. He does these little things to get in and make things happen. So I think we can't, who was the guy that we signed a couple of years ago from Kansas City that we were expecting to kind of the wide out during the Nagy area that were like,
Oh, yeah, it
you,
was.
you know
Oh,
who I'm thinking.
jeez, I
It's gonna
do.
drive me. This is old man brain.
Yeah, we're both there.
But right now, Olamide is everything that we had hoped that guy would be.
Yeah,
And so I really have enjoyed that quite a bit. I think you look at, you mentioned it, Luther Burden is growth. I think he's another one. Taylor Gabriel is the name I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I was thinking of someone else. There we go.
I think, yeah, that's Byron Pringle.
Byron Pringle, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
That was the other one, right? Like these are guys that we
Yeah.
thought would take on these slot roles. Olamide's done really well. I think you nailed it. Like you look at the snap counts for Luther.
Yeah,
I mean, but it was super efficient. They were good packages to put him out in there. And they took advantage of it. Like they didn't feature him, but they took their shots with him. And that was really, really fun. I think someone had a really good point early on, like watching that game made you wish that you signed Javonte Williams or a running back like him. Because I think this offense would hit another level if you just had that more physical element to the run game. I get that you want to find ways to get DJ Moore some more touches, and I get that that's part of it, but you've really got to bring a physicality to the run game that's going to open up everything a lot more.
right. And TTS, he played for the Falcons at one point. He started with the Falcons, and then he went to the Philadelphia Eagles for a year, and then he went to the Washington Commanders for a year, and then he came to Chicago.
Well, no, I think that's the Taylor Gabriel. Gabriel did come from
Oh, my bad.
yeah, Taylor
Okay.
Gabriel did come
Yep.
from the Falcons. I was meaning
Yeah.
Byron Pringle.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry to
No,
I
want someone to clip that. Shane apologized. If someone
Yes, I did.
Can we clip that?
Don't let it happen again.
Shane, I can say this is a safe space without Phil here, but I've been really impressed with Cole Kmet from a blocking perspective and everything that he's done. Like they have left him on an island sometimes to block
Yeah.
edges one-on-one, and he has done well.
He has shown, yeah, for sure. He's had a couple that made me want to punch myself in the face on tape, but I mean that's just part of it. And you brought up a name there, Cars, is I'm not sure, people realize that Durham Smythe is actually a very nice add to this roster overall. Is a guy, if let's just say if Loveland, according to Brad Biggs, Loveland, they expect him to be available this weekend. That was according to Brad Biggs. I don't know if that's true because he was DNP for practice today. But Durham Smythe is a guy that's going to go out there and give you quality reps, and especially what you have up there, in the run game, and that's where the Bears need to get it cranked up. He's for a number 3 tight end. The Bears are sitting in very good space there with Durham Smythe as the number 3.
It's been really great, and I think you just continue as you see that Rome ascension. Like his confidence is starting to just bubble out. Like he is what you're seeing from him, and he's putting it 2 and 2 together. I think you go back if you were to ask people to redraft right now from that last season, it goes Neighbors 1, Rome 2. Marvin Harrison
yeah,
Jr. 3.
yep. And I know at the time I could go back and pull up the list. I know Phil wasn't as high on
Marvin.
Marvin Harrison as the general consensus, and he had Rome as his one. I know I had Neighbors. I think you and I were in kind of lockstep on Neighbors and Marvin. But let's be honest. If we're sitting here saying that there's room for improvement, Marvin Harrison's story hasn't been written here
Oh,
either, even
absolutely.
though
I'm
there's
just
struggle as he just fumbled the football, by the way.
my concern with him is he's already started to go down the David Boston route of,
Yeah.
"Let me just get bigger and stronger."
Yeah.
And that
Well,
drop last week, like, Rome's
oh
had
yeah,
some
yeah.
bad drops, but that drop last week, that's a confidence killer drop.
But Adam Rank brought up a great point, Cars, with the whole, not to go back down this fucking vortex, with Justin Fields and all of that. But that was the selling point for the Hall crowd.
Was Marvin, yeah.
Was, oh, see, you get this guy, that this is a given. That's actually would be a great poll for ESPN 1000 or NFL.com to put out there, or if you can poll some general managers to see how that would go. I think Neighbors would still be very, very high, and I think that Rome has made up a lot of the perceived distance that was there when they were
Yes.
coming out. So yeah, it's a great point.
I mean, it's you can sense that things are about to bubble. The whole quarterback change in New York was all about Neighbors. I think but the craziest stat about that, like, we're talking 19, 20 games in, Malik Neighbors will now have caught passes when Jackson Dart is in with 6 different quarterbacks in his 1 1/4 years of
Yeah,
NFL football. How insane of a statistic is that?
right. Yeah,
Like,
Phil had Rome number one. Crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, he was a Rome guy all the
Neighbors
way.
like, it's very hard to choose. I think Neighbors, his speed
Oh
was
yeah,
always the biggest difference. Like, I I'm sad that he's in New York because I feel like he would be another Jamar Chase-like wide receiver in a lot of
totally
other
agree.
places,
Yep.
and it's just
Oh,
Brian Dable is getting
he
exposed. It's just
he's
a
he's gonna
garbage.
get louder and louder and louder as things go. Especially, well, that's one of the best part. That's probably the best part of Jackson Dart's game is him, his ability to attack deep. So hopefully, that'll open up things for him. But Malik Neighbors is not a guy to remain silent, we should say. And I know, me being here in New York, it's 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 well on its way to bubbling over.
Oh, I mean, he was already
Yeah.
fighting with Dable on the I mean, uh, what's happened in New York over the last
Yep.
5 years is astounding to me. Just because they,
Sure.
when what's his name was there, as the head coach, everything was just so consistent. They were old Coughlin. When Coughlin,
Yep.
everything was so consistent. It's very similar to, like, what happened to Dallas post Jimmy Johnson,
Yeah.
where it just mismanaged, misrun, can't figure it out, and, you know
And you just knew. I mean, as soon as they paid Daniel Jones,
Oh,
everybody outside of I mean, the fans knew. The fans in New York knew it was wrong. Everybody knew it was wrong except for the general manager and ownership there in New York. It's just
it was the
yikes.
same with the Evan Neal pick.
Yeah.
Everybody knew that that was wrong. Like, Kayvon Thibodeau's a great player.
And you know who they got? That was the Bears pick in the
Yes.
Justin Fields trade.
Yeah.
Evan Neal. Yeah.
But Kayvon Thibodeau, like, that's the ultimate flash or do nothing guy, and
Yeah.
it's been the way they've drafted. But I just say all that because I think, you see how fleeting these things are, and we pick on polls all the time as we should, but he's hit. Yeah, I think you could safe to say he's hit with Rome where he's at. I still think if you go back and redo that, you probably go in an offensive line or another direction.
Right.
but he's proven to be worth that pick overall.
100%. What else you got?
So it's really last but not least, let's look ahead a little bit at the Raiders. I think what's interesting for me is you look at those numbers, you see 16th in total yards. It is all passing, and a lot of that got inflated, to be completely honest, last week against Washington. Who is tied with Rome in touchdown passes? It's Trey Thomas from there, because he caught 3 last week against the Commanders. So they had kind of one big blowout game where they started to look very well. Like, you look at that, they're third 3 yards per carry. They're getting stuffed behind the line of scrimmage more than 50% of the time.
Yeah.
They're getting about a yard before contact, inside that run game. So now, again, our defense is one of the worst. We're allowing the most yards before contact in the rush game. But if their interior line from Dylan Parham, who has been garbage, Jackson Powers Johnson has not been the player that they thought he would be. Like, this is a game where your defensive tackles need to eat quite a bit, both in the pass game and in the run blocking game. But it's one of those. Jacoby Myers was a guy that I really liked, and he's really stepped up. Trey Tucker has been okay. Brock
I
Bowers.
followed you.
Yeah, Brock Bowers has not been the same player that he is, and it's one of those things where Geno's never really had a tight end that he's focused on, so that hasn't worked out so well. But offensively, this is not a team that should really strike a lot of fear. Geno's 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Like, it's very hit or miss. And then you pop over to the other side of the game, or the other side of the line, like 7 sacks, but 4 of them were against New England, whose line has been problematic at best. I will say that Jonah has been a pleasant surprise for them. That's giving them someone else on that line that is doing something. So he is performing, but it's really interesting to watch them. This is a team that doesn't have just a ton of talent, and I think it's very sad to see that, because it's one of those teams that you're always kind of like, man, I wish Raiders fans deserve way better than what they get, even if they are crazy individuals. But this looks to me like a game that should play out quite a bit like that Dallas game, except for the fact that they can't run the ball as well as Dallas can. So I would, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I feel like this is a game that I'd feel more confident about the direction of this team if they won convincingly than if they just sort of eked it out.
I ended up going 27-23 Bears in my prediction. What do you have?
Yeah, I'm leaning about 24-13.
Nice.
I look at this team and you kind of go, the Commanders' defense isn't very good, but they've scored 13 points against New England. They scored 20 against they scored 20 against the Patriots. They scored 9 against the Chargers. I just don't feel like they're there. It's one of the reasons that you and I always said that was the worst team for Ashton Genty to go to.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have the tools. They don't have the line. They need to bottom out for a little bit here to rebuild. Colton Miller is not really the same player that he used to be. They're living, a lot of guys living on rep.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's why I look at this and go, this should be a game that this team dominates. And my player to really watch for this game on defense, this should be a Gervon Dexter game.
Let's hope so. I mean, that is a guy that I think needs to have, another one of them confidence games that we're talking about, because Gervon is so fucking talented, and I still think when I look at Gervon Dexter, I see like a young Akeem Hicks that bounced around a little
Yes.
bit. He went from New Orleans, then he went to New England, and then he came to Chicago. And, I hope he doesn't follow that path of switching teams. Akeem was just in kind of systems that didn't really fit him that well until he came to Chicago. But he gets to the point where he can be so overpowering, but man, he can be maddening because he'll get low, he'll show that rare power and explosion, and then you might watch him for 4 reps in a row and he's standing straight up and his
Yeah.
pad level is not down. You're like, Jervon, that's just, it's got to become second. You're not a rookie anymore either,
I mean, what's interesting to that is he's basically had he's had a QB hit a game.
Yep.
He's already halfway to his numbers of tackles for loss than he was last year.
Yeah.
So you are seeing more of the flashes, but you're getting to this point where you don't want to call them flashes
Right.
anymore, and I think you're absolutely right. But that matchup of Jervon Dexter versus Parnham is one that he should win consistently and convincingly.
Yep.
And that just frees up Grady Jarrett and the others to run wild. So I think if I have a bold prediction is I want a 2-sack game on a Jervon this week. And I think that's definitely within the realm of possibilities.
Be great. So like I said, that would be that you want to have your young guys come through. You're going into this game with Caleb Williams, confidence level is high. You're going into the game with Ben Johnson, your young head coach, confidence level high. Luther Burden, confidence, level is high. And you want to start stacking these games with those guys. And, depending on if Loveland can go, I think Loveland should go. And I mean, even though he didn't have statistically a great game, but having a 32-yard pass, getting into the flow a little bit there, that's going to give him some confidence. And then you look at a guy, that's been around and on a couple of teams on defense. A guy like Tremaine Edmonds is going to have confidence coming off of a game like that. Noah Sewell is, an underrated.
He's been fun.
Cars, he's the most physical player that the Bears have had on defense.
He has been such a revelation to watch out there, and you can tell how much he loves. He loves it. How about the fact that Tyreek is playing consistent?
Yeah,
a hustle fumble. That's not something that we would have seen last year. We saw it his rookie year. We would not have seen it last year.
I'm trying to see if I can find. I think I have it right here. Let me see. Somebody brought up, Shamar Turner and getting some snaps. I don't know if I didn't see this happen live.
When he went barked at the guy?
Yeah, did Dustin share it with you?
Oh, yeah, it was
yeah.
phenomenal.
It's so fucking great. But this is who Shamar Turner is. And this is when Phil's saying we need some dogs. I think you've discovered one if he can stay healthy in Noah Sewell because of the physical nature that he plays with. Luther Burden passes that test for me as a dog and a confidence player.
Oh, yes.
Shamar Turner, this is so great right here. So just watch Shamar Turner barking.
Got him for a 5th-round pick this year.
So great.
For a 5th-round pick this year.
And you know who that is too. That's fellow that's first round draft pick Tyler Booker there. And they, obviously have their history in the SEC, but those are the things that, that's a rookie defensive lineman. And yeah, do you want him doing that all the time? Of course not. But that's, you love to see that, be a confidence guy. Now he's just got to get out there and string together some plays.
Yeah, and I think, it was encouraging that they got him out there. It's a good show for him to get some time, even if he's only getting, what I mean, he had 23 snaps on defense
Yeah.
last week. So I mean that tells you the importance of it, and those are the things that we can now have that extra body to rotate through on the defensive line, which is going to help us a little bit more in the run game. So I think all these things, Shane, for the most part that I'm seeing happening, it's the good kind of growth.
Yeah.
We're not winning these games because, a vet, we're not winning these because Kevin Byard is picking off passes left and right. We're winning this game
Yeah.
because Rome is catching them and Luther's making big plays. And, like you look at these numbers, Shane, what I think is fascinating to me is like Rome is 14 yards a catch. Colston is 14 yards a catch.
Yeah.
Cole Kmet is 17 yards a catch. Luther's 20 yards. DJ Moore is 11. Like you're just seeing this vertical passing game that we've been watching other teams have
Yeah.
our entire lives. And
yeah,
we're now the ones doing it.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely different. I'm just going through because I know some people have had some questions about, potential guys that we might go after, and it's I don't know, Cars, if you've looked at other teams, to me the Bears have to make a move at running back. They're clearly not going to do it this week. I think during the bye they have to, check out some guys and
Or you've got to leverage Manon guy a lot more because he showed you
sure, but
something.
yeah,
I
no,
understand
he
your
did,
point,
yeah.
but
He's not preventing me from bringing in another guy because listen to me, Roshan, he's a non-factor on the roster.
Has he even? I don't think he's really played a snap yet.
No,
on offense.
No, and on special teams he hasn't looked good.
I mean, it's very so then what what are you keeping him around for? Yeah, he's yet to have an offensive snap.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So that's like some interesting names, like Damian Martinez, the former Miami Hurricanes back, he's got some size, he's got some explosiveness. You're out nothing by bringing him in, trying him out. He's on Seattle's practice squad right now. They actually drafted him late, and it was more of a numbers game in Seattle. That'd be a guy that I would look at because they're not looking for another scat back type. They're looking for a guy that can get you some of the tough yardage. You got bigger back.
You're looking like
that.
what Javonte Williams did,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And what happened to us against Minnesota? They
Right.
went to a physical back and they punished us, and that is something that we're meeting. I think Audric is a player that we really need to take a hard look at. And
Estime is the other one. Yep, and he's got no shot. I mean, unless they go down, the injury tunnel in Philly because he's in the practice squad for the Philadelphia Eagles, Audric Estime, and the guy, this is kind of flying in the face of what I've said, in terms of a guy that can churn out the tough yards. I just think Abanaconda, the former, he was the Jets brought him in. He's on the practice squad in Green Bay. He's a guy that can give you some explosiveness. He's been a guy that I've been interested in. That I would love the Bears to. I'd love them to bring him in, give him a look, and like I said, you give him a look for a week or two, and then you move on from him. It shouldn't be that hard, and this is one of my things that drives me nuts with Ryan Poles.
Yes.
I don't think he has been active enough churning over the bottom end of this roster, and rather than just say, "Oh, Roshan's gonna get healthy," or "We're gonna go out and we're gonna claim Jalen Jones," or "We're gonna," stuff like that. Keep on bringing these guys in and checking them out, and if they're substandard, then move on from them. But you never know. You might find a guy that way. And Ryan Poles has had some success in bringing in, UDFAs and some talented guys that way. I just wish he was a little more proactive with the bottom end of this roster this time of year. by bringing people in and trying them out.
I mean, you look at a guy like J.K. Dobbins and what he's doing in Denver, right? Not for a lot of money, but that's a move that you're just kind of like, that's something that we should have done. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
there were enough of these players out there that we should have kind of taken a flyer on. Um, so I think you're absolutely right. Like it's a very valid criticism. He's resting on his laurels too much, and if I ever want to make you pop a vein in your forehead, I just have to text you that he signed some random cornerback to the practice squad, and I could
Think
watch your
you know,
head.
I still think about that, on cut down day, and when I probably get too excited, about waiver claims and when the final 53s come in, but that shit matters. I can remember when the Bears had the number 1 pick, we were all so excited to see who the Bears, we could take whoever we
Anybody.
wanted in the waiver claim process, and they drafted or they didn't draft, they claimed the pass rusher from the Colts, the former Notre Dame,
Oh, Kareem.
Kareem,
Yeah.
whatever, I can't even remember what his name, Khalid Kareem or something like that
Yes.
his name was.
Yeah.
And he's still, I believe is on somebody's practice squad now, but that was the only move Ryan Poles made. How do you not take advantage of having the number 1 slot there by you have it for like 4 weeks?
By the way,
How-
Khalid Kareem is on the practice squad now of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes. Yeah, I knew he was on somebody's practice squad, but and another guy that I know that the Bears were interested in the draft is Braden Swinson.
Yeah.
He's on the practice squad in New England. He was they drafted him up there. Does he have the exact size that Dennis Allen wants? But no, he has some traits. You have a pass rush problem in Chicago. Bring him in. Put him on your 53 for a week or two. See what he can do. Is he going to be worse than? Listen, I know this sounds weird because Dominique Robinson had a sack. I don't care. That should not dictate your place on the roster, because that's the first sack he's had since the first game of his career, by the way.
Moving on up like George and Wheezy on that
Yeah.
one, isn't he? Yeah, I'm with you. I think you've got to take a better look. I think, you're not, the hard part is you're not looking for a home run here, right?
No.
You're looking, if you just get a solid single, right? A solid guy
Right.
who gives you 3 to 5 carries, maybe 10 on a day where the weather turns bad, where you could just hand them the ball and they can just go get chunk yardage, get hits. I mean, again, look at Detroit, right? Look at
Right.
how much better Monty's physical run sets up
100%.
Gibbs and how much Gibbs sets up Monty.
That's the thing, Carson. Like I said, we were talking to Cap last night, and I made the comment to him. And listen, DeAndre Swift is far from a perfect player. I do think overall he takes a lot of criticism because he's a guy that can go out there and make plays, but he's Robin. He's not Batman.
Yes.
On an offense. And right now, he is your bell cow. That's not who he is. That's not who he has ever been. But Ryan Poles has aired. And, this is the thing. This is what I read a 2026 mock draft. And who does it have the Bears drafting? Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame. If we draft a fucking running back next year in the first round, listen.
It's going to be must-see TV. That's all I know.
Yeah, I mean, but would it shock you with
No.
Ryan Poles? It wouldn't at all. It's just it's crazy. But go out there. There's guys, and listen, I'll get a list and I'll post it for our patrons, and I'll look at. I won't just be practice squad guys, and I'll come up with some names from that are on the bottom of a roster someplace that would be upgrades in Chicago. Like, to me, Britton Brown should be on your 53 over Roshan Johnson. Easy. Done deal. He should be. But Roshan is here because Ryan Poles had a problem cutting a 4th or 5th string safety, and he got emotional about it. That's not great. What do they say? NFL stands for not for long, right? It's the business. Yes, sometimes it sucks that you have to tell a guy you're not good enough to be here. And by the way, you're a little bit older, so it's probably the end of the road for you. I get it. It sucks, but it happens. And if you're running a team, if you're a general manager, you have to have, when we talk about dogs, you have to have a little bit of that in you as a general manager, where you're kept up at night because you know what? I got to go check the tape on this 3rd string running back in Seattle again, or the one in New Orleans again, or how can I flip this guy on my roster for somebody that might fit better? I just don't see Ryan Poles even attempting to do things like that. And it bothers me. He settles. Cap called him the settler, or calls the guys for the Bulls settlers in AK and in Eversley. The settlers. They just sit back. And Ryan Poles has that same thing. And it drives me fucking nuts because they should be Cars. Anybody can trade the number 1 pick. Anybody can. That trade with Carolina wasn't fucking hard to do.
No.
You had guys knocking on your door in the hotel trying to acquire that pick. That's not hard to do. It's hard going out, finding guys that haven't gotten a shot, that might have a shot on your roster because it's lacking in areas. They're doing nothing.
Look at it like what happened with Miami when they found Raheem Mostert, right? Like, how did that blow up?
Played for fucking 8 teams, Chicago one of them.
But it's it's the old Shanahan, right? Like I can go pick up what was it, Brian Gary, and then I go to Terrell Davis, and then I go to this guy, and then I just go to this guy. Like, a lot of these guys can get propped up by scheme. You're a better football team if you've got a Saquon Barkley, but guess you don't need a Saquon Barkley to win it all. You've got a quarterback that's good enough to, that has the potential to be good enough to win it all. But what you do need is look at those Patriots teams. LeGarrette Blount was so good. So good because he was a physical runner. He punished people. And it just added that next little difference to that team. And so, maybe 2 or 3 games a year, they had to ride him more than they rode any of the other players. But you know what? He was there for those types of plays. That is what we're missing. And that I'm in 100% agreement with you. That's really the aggression that we need to see moving forward. Shane, are you on mute?
I am. I was coughing. I'm sorry. Richard, you can't say that he didn't listen. He put up his best numbers as a pro in Philly, with that offensive line. He was averaging 4.6 a clip. He had the only 1,000-yard season of his career and 5 touchdowns. And quite honestly, he probably could have easily had 12 touchdowns, but the tush push poached a lot of them. And listen, I sat in the front row watching DeAndre Swift essentially tackle himself in Buffalo. He did it again. He did it again versus Dallas. If he stays outside on that screen that he took, he's got a chance to house that one. He cut back inside for whatever reason. I'm not sure. Even on tape, when you're watching it from the end zone angle, you're like, what are you doing? I think maybe he thought he could get up the seam a little bit quicker, but it was just never there. But like I said, he's a number 2 on a team with an explosive offense that can come in and make plays that way. He's never been a bell cow, and he never will be. He has poor vision, and that's
it's kind of like the number 1 quarterback thing. There aren't many true bell cow running backs in the NFL. You've got your Derrick Henrys, you've got your Saquon Barkleys. There's McCaffrey when he was healthy is all it was one. But McCaffrey is also the reason of why those bell cows are so dangerous.
Yeah.
You're like, we should do a study on how the hell Derrick Henry has taken the beating that he has and is still performing at such a level. Which is, by the way, I think he has just now come close in 9 years in the pros of surpassing his high school rushing yardage. If that
Oh
tells you,
yeah. I mean, let that think in or
yeah,
sink in. It's crazy, man.
that dude rushed for 12,000 yards in high school football. He's been in the pros for 9 years, including a 2,000-yard season,
Yeah.
and he still hasn't approached his
It's
past his
nuts.
high school rushing yardage. Like he so you look at that and you just kind of go, "All right, I want to get that." Those things don't exist. And Derrick Henry was a second round pick because of where running backs were valued at that point in time.
Right.
It's just my complaint with that, Shane, is the same as your complaint with defensive ends.
Yeah.
Why aren't we swinging the bat more? Like later round picks. I think we're getting to that point, Shane, where we can say that he truly missed on Quran. I just think that ship
Yeah. A
more
hundred
and more
percent.
every day.
Right.
It's just fading.
He
Why
he
aren't you
took a
taking it?
project offensive lineman. That is a gamble that you take if you're a team like, let's say, Buffalo or Baltimore or
Yeah.
Philadelphia, that you're like, all right, we understand this is going to take some time, but we want to see if we can catch lightning in a bottle, and this guy has some traits. It the, I didn't love it when it happened. I know Phil was higher on him than I think pretty much anybody at TTNL, and I just Ryan Poles. Initially I was a fan, and I've soured on him completely at this point. And sad part is, Cars, I don't think he's going anywhere with the extension. And
No,
I
I
know
think that's done.
there's no salary cap on GMs, but he needs to flip the switch and be aggressive. You cannot sit back, because if you're not trying to improve, guess what? You're not improving.
If you're not honest with yourself
Yeah.
about where the flaws of your roster are, if it has to be like, I did this, I added this guy, this is the move, I think that's the problem.
Yep.
I think with Ben here, you're gonna see much more of a focus on this stuff. Like you're gonna get a much better read on this roster this season of where the weaknesses are and where the strengths are, because they're gonna be properly coached. So you're finally gonna, you're gonna get an off season, this off season with like Ben and Dennis Allen talking to him about their needs versus Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron, or Matt Eberflus and Luke Getzey,
Oh,
is
100%, right.
gonna be night and day. But that means that he's gonna have to be active. And what have we seen that he does? He then just over course corrects
Yeah.
and throws a whole lot at it. So we're getting to that point where he's got to be strategic in the way that he does that. And
Yep.
I don't know that he's capable of it.
You brought up Derrick Henry, and I always think of this picture. These are two running backs for the University of Alabama in that picture. That's Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry. It's not the greatest picture quality there, but you can still see, even Mark Ingram's looking at him and saying, holy shit, that is pure insanity.
I mean, it's incredible. And for a guy of his size to have that breakaway speed, that 99-yard touchdown at his
Yeah.
size should be illegal. There's no way that he should be pulling away from people.
Right. Yeah. And that's somebody had in there that scouts were worried about his ability in the passing game. Well, you're not drafting Derrick Henry because of what he does in the passing game. It's never been a part of his game. And I'll never forget, NFL draft expert Matt Miller telling everybody that he's going to be a fullback in the NFL. Don't forget that.
It's one of my favorite little statistics, because it's always just like, he's weak in the run game. Barry Sanders never caught 50 passes in a
Yeah.
single season.
Yeah.
And like, that's why I always say, if you want the best pure running back of all time, just pure running back, it's Barry Sanders. If you want the best running back of all time, it's Walter Payton, because he did everything and he
Yep.
did it well. But that's not stop. Like, you win with that. That's kind of like what did they cut Chris Carter for? Obviously attitude, but like, all he does is really catch touchdowns. Yeah, that's a valuable freaking skill.
Who he played for, right?
Buddy Ryan.
Yeah. All he does is catches touchdowns. But they used to have they used to say the same thing about Adrian Peterson. Remember?
Yeah.
That he doesn't catch the ball well enough. Well, yeah. He ended up running it pretty goddamn well.
It's just an insane thing. So yeah, things are they're on the up and up, I think, is the way that I keep emphasizing. I think you see the growth where you want to see the growth. If you don't see the growth, it's because you refuse to see the growth. We're not by any means sitting here and saying he's a finished product. We're not sitting here doing the, H1M kind of stuff. It's him. It's any of this. You're seeing the growth. If I look at a play where I see that growth the most, that flea flicker,
yeah,
his feet couldn't fully step into it, but he was not hopping around. There was pressure, and he got that ball off in a window.
Yeah,
that's the sort of thing that you look at for growth. Like,
right.
And that comes with reps. It comes with confidence. It comes with understanding where your players are, and that builds. And as this season goes on, he's 21st in Bears history in passing yards at this point.
Yeah. It's
not going to be there much longer.
It's crazy. Well, I think we can probably get out of here a little bit earlier than we were expecting, and I'm not going to have any problem making that happen. But nobody will see me on air tomorrow night. I did the 2 shows Sunday, did After Dark Monday, Keeping It 100 Wednesday. We're doing Cars Keys tonight. For you TTNL Network patrons, Phil broke down the tape today for you guys. I think it was around 4:30 East when he went live. So for you patrons that missed that, or if somebody is interested, head over to the tapeneverlies.com, sign up, become a patron, check it out. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. The tapeneverlies.com will sign you up, and you'll have access to the complete library of really everything that we've done. But with that being said, Cars, I know Cap and Braggs and the ESPN and CHGO crews are heading to Vegas tonight. Cap intends to pull an all-nighter, and he'll be going live. It'll be around 4 a.m. I believe, Chicago time. But he's gonna told me that he'd text me later from the tables and let me know how he's doing. But I said, we'll see if he ends up falling asleep or what happens. But listen,
my
man,
body hurts just thinking of doing that right now.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you. I'd still do it though.
Yeah.
But,
Absolutely.
Got to go to Vegas. Got to get a W, man. They can't revert back to the same old Bears, and all played good last week, and we're gonna go lay down for Geno Smith and the Vegas Raiders. Can't do it. You got to go there, send a message. You should have the crowd on your side.
That's what's crazy, that they're saying it's going to be 50-50.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yep. So that's a statement, and we got the whole crew there. So we'll be live at halftime for you patrons, and then we'll be live immediately after the game goes final to break it all down, win, lose, or draw. But with that being said, Carson, I think we're gonna wrap it up, get out of here, go spend some time with the fam for the rest of the night.
Or yes, traveling for work stuff makes it difficult. They actually missed me.
Yeah,
so I gotta go actually spend time with them, which is weird.
Yeah, don't let Maisie shove a shiv in your neck or anything like that.
Oh man, she terrifies me, Shane.
Look at that face. Isn't she scary?
That is still, I have to admit, that is still one of my favorite moments because she was like so excited, and then you
Very
show,
nervous.
and then she's like,
yep.
"Oh my god!"
She did tense up just a little bit. I have that effect on lots of ladies' cars. You know how that goes.
Yeah, except not the one in your house.
Well,
That one,
yeah.
she'll push you. Not the
Yeah.
one you're thinking of. The little one will kill
Yeah.
you.
Oh yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. Little Miss Emerson. She's the she is the ruler of this roost. Absolutely. I picked Bears 27, Raiders 23, Cars picks 24-13, Chicago.
That's correct.
That's where you're at. So let's go get a dub out in the desert, come back, 2 wins, hit the bye week, get healthy, and go get some fucking revenge in Washington. Let's go, Bears. We'll see you guys.
Launch.
Bear down.